This is just basically a love-in for people who love to talk about love. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife and today I am bringing you a brand new original book tag. This is the Contemporary Romance Reader book tag. I saw something kind of similar made by Jess from Peace Love Books, but that featured a whole lot about historical romance. I've said here a couple of times, I'm not a big historical romance reader, but contemporary romance is pretty much my bread and butter when it comes to reading. So, having seen her tag, I kind of reworked some of the questions and made them more about reading contemporary romances, and I would love to hear your thoughts on them too. The first question is, what is the first contemporary romance you remember reading? For me, it was Always a Bridesmaid by Sarah Webb. She is an Irish author who has written not just adult books, but also quite a few books for younger readers. In Always a Bridesmaid, you're following Aimee, whose younger sister Susie has come back from Australia and is engaged to an Australian guy called Matt. Also, her best friend Beth has just gotten engaged to her boyfriend Tony, and her ex-boyfriend Jack has gotten engaged to Jodie, with whom he cheated on Aimee. There's a whole lot of weddings going on, and Aimee is starting to feel like she's never really going to get her chance, especially as she's approaching 30 and she feels like that's the age where she's going to be kind of left on the shelf. However, Aimee works in a bookshop and she has really started to catch the eye of Steve, who is a children's illustrator and comes into the shop quite a lot with his niece and nephew to kind of browse the shelves and get some inspiration for his new book. Question 2 is, what is the last contemporary romance that you remember reading? I am in the middle of Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Sutano, and I am absolutely obsessed with this book at the moment. But the last one that I can remember reading is About a Girl by Lindsay Kelk. This follows Tess, who picks up her roommate Vanessa's phone one evening, and in a kind of a mixed up identity, accidentally gets sent on a location shoot to Hawaii, where Vanessa has been booked as a photographer. Luckily, Tess has got some photography skills. She's also got a camera that, coincidentally, Vanessa has stolen from her. And there she meets a guy called Nick, and they really start to hit it off. And the end of this book kind of ends in a cliffhanger, so that you have to continue on with the series to see what happens. Question 3, who are some of your favourite contemporary romance authors? I absolutely adore the aforementioned Lindsay Kelk. She is one of my auto-buy authors. Everything she comes out with I have read and I have loved so far. I also really enjoy the books from Isabel Broom. She sets all of her books everywhere across the world. So you have gotten escapes to New Zealand, to Thailand, to Spain, to Greece, anywhere you can think of, she's bringing you there with her, right from the comfort of your own armchair. I also absolutely love Beth O'Leary. I really loved The Flat Share. I thought it was such an exciting and interesting concept for a book. I didn't really love The Road Trip this much, but I'm really hopeful for her next book, The No Show, which is coming out this April, and I'm really hoping that we're going to get on a little bit better. Question 4, who are some of your favourite underrated contemporary romance authors? So authors that you never really hear being spoken about here on BookTube or anywhere else in the book community. I think people are sleeping on Lindsay James. She is one of the most hardworking authors that I've ever met. She has some phenomenal books in her arsenal. She's currently working on her 9th book at the moment. And the one that she has just pushed out last April was the Single Dad's Handbook. And I think that is by far the best book she's ever written. If you're really into the vibes of P.S. I Love You, the kind of letters that Jerry leaves behind for Holly, you would really love this book because there's quite a similar theme going on throughout the book. I also really love Portia McIntosh, who writes quite a lot of small town, cozy romances, some of them in the lead up to Christmas. For example, one of my favourite books of hers is Stuck on You, which follows Sadie, who brings her boss Damien back to her small town with her when she discovers he has nobody to celebrate Christmas with and he's going to be on his own for the holidays. While they're there, she introduces him to quite a lot of the experiences and the traditions that she, her family, and their community have all put together for Christmas, including a family and community Christmas Eve gathering in the cinema to watch It's a Wonderful Life in their pajamas, and I absolutely adore the idea of that. If that is something that I could ever bring into real life from a book, that would be it. Much like Isabel Broom, one of the reasons that I really love Julie Kaplan as an author is that all of her books are set right across the world. You're starting off in Denmark, then you're going to New York, to Paris, to Croatia. There's even one set in Ireland, which I have to say, as an Irish person, was not diddly eye imagination Hollywoodization of Irish people. It was genuinely like as if I was sitting in a hotel in Kerry. Question 5 is, what book do you recommend to somebody starting out with contemporary romance? Here I have gone for a kind of a closed door romance and a very steamy one. So for the closed door romance, I always, and I think you'll know what the answer is going to be, I always recommend the I Heart series by Lindsay Kelk. This follows Angela Clark, who discovers her boyfriend in the back of his car with somebody else at their best friend's wedding, and she then completely uproots her life and heads out to New York to completely start a new job, new relationship, new friends, new settings, new surroundings, and it's something that I absolutely love seeing. I love seeing Angela's character growth right from the start of the book to the end of the series. For the more steamy side, I will always recommend The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. It was the first of Christina Lauren's books that I ever read, and I've recommended it to 2 people so far, and both of them absolutely adored it. In this book, Olive's twin sister Aimee is possibly the most lucky woman in the world and has won pretty much her entire wedding package, including an all-expenses paid 5-star resort in Hawaii for her honeymoon. The only problem is that at the wedding reception, there is a seafood platter reserved that makes everybody completely immobilized by food poisoning, except for 2 people, Aimee and the groom's brother Ethan. Problem is that Aimee and Ethan absolutely despise each other, but because the honeymoon is non-refundable and it cannot be cancelled, Aimee and Ethan decide to impersonate their siblings and go on this all-expenses holiday themselves. Of course, things start happening while they're on holidays. Question 6. What are some of your favourite contemporary romance tropes, and what are some of your least favourite contemporary romance tropes? For favourite tropes, I really love a friends to lovers romance. I love seeing them discover their feelings for each other as the book progresses. They kind of have this, oh my god, it was you all along moment that when the light strikes, I absolutely love reading that. Another thing that I absolutely adore and didn't know that I loved until I read American Royals by Catherine McGee is forced proximity, there was only one bed, that kind of a thing. I am absolutely obsessed with that kind of trope. So if you know a book that has it in there, please do let me know below. As for my least favourite tropes, I cannot read a book that has cheating in it. I do not like cheating in real life. It's not something that I stand behind. So it's definitely something that will dampen my reading experience a little bit. I'm also not a huge fan of the surprise pregnancy trope, especially when it's kind of shoehorned in as an epilogue or at the end of a book, or when the characters in the book have kind of had struggles with fertility, have made their peace with not having children, and then bam, it just all goes to plan. A quite common one that I'm not a big fan of is second chance romances. I feel like if there's a particular reason that it didn't work out the first time, there's not really a lot of reasons that that's going to change if you're going down the road maybe 10 or so years later. Question number 7, what are some of your favourite contemporary romance settings? I love a book that's set in New York. I have something about New York. I've always wanted to go back there. I went for a couple of days when I was like 15 or so. I don't really remember a lot of the city. I know that there is so much more I want to see. There's so much I haven't done in the city yet. And I love reading a book with a character in New York and kind of living vicariously through them, strolling down Fifth Avenue, going to the Strand, seeing the Statue of Liberty, going to a Broadway show. I absolutely love living vicariously through them that way. Other things that I really love in books are cozy feelings. So a book that has a cafe owner as the main character and you're experiencing quite a lot of their book in a cafe, sitting down, ordering a coffee and reading a book in a cafe that is set in a cafe is just the best serendipity you can come up with. I also really love cozy villages. I grew up in quite a small town, quite a small village with maybe 300 people living there, so I am quite used to small town life, but seeing just how well it's done in a lot of contemporary romance books is a real treat for me. Question number 8, what was your favourite contemporary romance that you read last year? I have to give props here to The Roommate by Rosie Danan. This was Rosie's debut and it's the first book in the Roommate series. It is not just really steamy, but also because one of the main characters is a sex worker and works in the porn industry, you have quite a lot of commentary about the conditions that sex workers work in and how their lives are really like. I can tell that there was a whole lot of research went into this book, and it really shows in the pages. It is so phenomenally written, and as I said, there are some really great steamy scenes in there too. Question 9. What are your top 3 all-time favourite contemporary romance books? Yes, I'm going to make you choose. I also found it really hard to choose, so don't come shooting the messenger. But as of today, I think my top 3 are The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, the I Heart series, particularly I Heart New York, as it's the one that started it all, by Lindsay Kelk, and The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I know that that can be quite a divisive book here on BookTube. People either absolutely love it or they absolutely cannot stand it. As you can tell, I'm very firmly in camp love it. I once again loved the steamy scenes. I loved the enemies to lovers situation here. Also, there was a very cute scene where Lucy wasn't feeling the best and Josh came and just took care of her, and I really loved seeing just how much you actually know that he cares about her, the kind of dramatic irony that comes in there. There are some parts of the book, of course, that aren't great, and that does also sit in with the other 2 books that I've mentioned, but as a whole, those 3 books absolutely do it for me. Question number 10. What are your most anticipated contemporary romance releases this coming year? I have got 2 that I am particularly looking forward to. So you've got The No Show by Beth O'Leary and Mad About You by Vari McFarlane, both of which are coming out in April 2022. In Mad About You, Harriet has just broken up with her boyfriend and is looking for an apartment to live in and ends up living with a guy, I believe his name is Kieran, and they don't particularly gel at the start, but all of a sudden they start discovering kind of similarities that they have with each other and gelling really well by the end of the book. As for The No Show by Beth O'Leary, it follows 3 women who discover they are all dating the same guy at the same time when they are stood up, all 3 of them on a date for the same night. And there's kind of an other woman vibe where they get together and kind of plot, find out what happened, and discover that they all have some things in common as well. Question number 11 is to tag some contemporary romance readers whose answer to this you would absolutely love to see. So I'm going to tag Cora from Tea Party Princess, Michelle from Michelle Reads YA, Chandler from Chandler Ainsley, Hailey from Hailey in Bookland, Heather from Bookables, Riley from Riley Marie, Rye from Rye's Reading Corner, Charlotte from Books and Bargains, Lisa from Remarkably Lisa, and Aimee from Aimee Reads. I would absolutely love to see if any of them have taken this tag, or if there are any other people that they know whose answers they'd love to see too. So there you have it. Those are the questions and the answers for the contemporary romance reader book tag. I would absolutely love to see your takes on this, so please do tag me right across social media if you have taken this one. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.